What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we are taking a look at a real cool knife from EKnives, from Shirogorov, but it's their EK or EKnives edition of the Quantum. And as we know, what's so cool about this knife is it's offered in a ton of configurations, everything from single row bearings, multi-row bearings, and up into the roll error bearings and beyond. So, wanted to do a quick video on this. Casual conversation, as always, which I love. And a reminder, a lot of these things that I do videos on are available on the site, bladezilla.ca. Right now it's set up to sell to Canada, but if there's some requests outside of that, just send me an email, sales@bladezilla.ca, and I'm sure we can sort something out. Anyway, beyond that, let's get into this super cool knife. I think you guys are going to like this because it offers tremendous value on a proven platform. Okay, let's get started. So, size-wise, and this is already taking up a big chunk of my screen, so that's good. Framing's off the charts. 4-inch blade or just under, and 8 3/4 overall length, roughly, which is the standard kind of Quantum sizing, which is great. These knives have a real good tendency to actually fit and feel a lot smaller than their size would otherwise indicate. So don't be scared that it's got a 4-inch blade. It is more than excellente once you have it in hand. Comparisons in the non-Shirogorov family, I like to do that first. We will do the mini, my god. I just filmed a mini FSD video, so everything's mini. Sebenza small and a Sebenza large to kind of give you an idea. It is bigger than both, as well it should be. It is definitely a nice size knife, but I will be honest, it feels smaller in hand than a large Sebenza. In terms of the Shirogorov line, well, I don't have a Stellar or Stellaris available, but we can do a Neon, which is the smaller size. So I'll start at Neon, and I'll zoom out just a little bit here. Let's go Neon, let's do Quantum, and remember there's the Stellar in between. And we will go up into the 111. So you can kind of see it's right in between these guys, and I'm trying to line the pivots up to kind of showcase all three sizes, but there is one in between these two. So super cool knife. Now in terms of the Quantum range, I actually just sold the Quantum Ursus that I had, which was amazing. But I do have another cool Monkey Edge frag, which is a single row bearing version with that cool pattern. Also a real cool knife. And then do I have a Quantum? I do. A Quantum Gen 2, which is kind of the upper version of the range, which is just a little bit more milling, but as the most part you can kind of see they do offer the same kind of Persian sweep, other than that nice little cutout in the blade. And if we want to stick one more in the range, I think I have one more Quantum here that would slot between these. Well, actually, it's the Solar. It's the special edition, which I did a video on. That guy is not going anywhere. Super cool knife. And that is the extent of the current Quantum collection, I believe. I'm just looking down the line. I don't think there's any others. They kind of come and go as I bring them in pretty quick. Other than a couple of these that I keep. So these two are ones that I'm thinking of keeping. Obviously, the Monkey Edge frag is just timeless, but what would make this perfect is if it had multi-row bearings, which this does have, which is cool, right? Super, super cool. So let's talk about the EKnives Edition, kind of what separates it, etc. But first and foremost, how did they get this price point to where it is? I want to say it was like $750 US-ish, kind of in that area, so maybe 150 more than their bottom end, or 100 more than their bottom end versions. So yeah, let's start. So a couple things. One is the bearing system, which is usually indicated written on the inside up here, but I'll tell you this is multi-row bearings, which I will show you, I think. Hopefully you can see that just written under here. There you go, MRBS, whereas a standard version will just look like a little sun, some bearings on it. In terms of what that means on this knife, single row bearings are essentially bearing on a track, like you would think on just about any other knife. Whereas multi-row bearings, think of it as 3 bearings or 2 in a row in a pinwheel configuration on a track. So it's kind of like the rays on a sun, which, you know, in theory gives you a little bit more side-to-side stability on the blade, which is cool. But with that comes a little bit more, I guess, feel to it, or a resistance to it dropping, and it takes a little longer to break in. But that is not a problem on this one. That's it's only had a couple flips. That actually feels really good. So that's number one, single row, multi-row. The size of the pivot is another one where you can kind of get an option there. This guy tends to, I think, be a little on the smaller side just based on looking at the eye, which is fine. The other areas, backspacer versus this little nub. So backspacer obviously costs a little bit more money. As you can tell, there's your Gen 2, so you get a nice thick backspacer, which looks awesome. But, you know, is it needed? I personally like it, and I have friends who personally like having that feature. It, to me, just kind of finishes the package. But with that, you know, it costs a lot of money. And then in the Shirogorov world, they actually have different levels of backspacers as well. So they'll actually change that material from, I think, titanium. Some are kind of coated titanium, some are like magnesium, I think. Zirconium, and then I believe these are 2D milled. And do I have my monkey here, my turtle? Then they get into kind of 3D milling as well, as you can kind of see on this custom division F95T. So just a little bit more texture, a little bit more detail, and with that comes a little bit more cost. So there's certainly some ways to cut costs there. And then if you look at the pivot, like I was saying, it did look a little smaller. So there's that. Not a huge cost, but just enough. The back spacer and then the blade material. So M390 on the standard Quantum Gen 2, which I think is a just gorgeous knife all around. This and the F95T are ridiculous value for what they're doing right now. So versus this Chromax, and some fingerprints on there for you, free of charge. So nothing wrong with Chromax. There's not a ton really known about that material. It's kind of tough to find information on, but I think Chromax is it Japanese or something, or I don't know if it's a Bowler product. I don't know much about it, other than it's highly rated in just about everything. So good product, and it's kind of LMAX up a little bit. So yeah, let's kind of get back on track here. So we're talking about this guy. So bearing system, pivot size, backspacer, blade material. Well, what else can you do? Well, you can change the milling design on the handle. So depending on what you want to do, you can either kind of etch it or engrave it like the R1P or R1 Recon 1 version of this Quantum on multi-row bearings. So that's a bit of a cost savings to go that way. Or you can do like a full custom job on it like this, which adds to the cost, and I think, in my opinion, this just looks real nice. So there's that. Then you flip it over, and you can see the milling on the clip, right up here, and then the milling beneath the clip, and then the milling on the sides here. The light might not even pick this up, but there's a ton of milling on this knife. For a production model, it's done super, super well, tremendously well. And even like look up towards the flipper tab, there's like milling lines just above where the EKs are, below the tab. It's just a detail level that honestly you don't really get anywhere else, honestly. Now, the Quantum tab itself is kind of built into the top of the handle. As you can see a nice smooth line. Now that is different than the F95, which kind of builds it this way. So you can kind of see it's angled off the handle, so you can kind of find a little spot for your finger to fall, whereas this guy, it's just nice and accessible and easy to find. So keep that in mind. The Quantum they've always been this way. Now, one thing that a lot of people are a little on the fence about with Shirogorov is, one, they're Russian, that's great. Number two, the design of this lock bar. So they're very sensitive to pressure. Now, how does Shiro get around that? Well, they're alleviating as much pressure as possible away from the lock bar. If you look at the design of the pocket clip, it is angled and putting all of its weight onto this side of the handle in the hopes that when you're squeezing that or you're holding that in your hand, all that weight is transferred to this side versus the lock bar. And I'll show you what I'm saying. So if I'm holding this like I normally would, weight on the clip, it comes out, no questions asked, first try, every single time. If I do that exact same thing again and I hold it like this on the clip, just a little bit of pressure. Actually, I'll use my middle finger, okay? Middle finger, I literally can't open the knife. So it tells me you have to hold this a certain way, and I've just gotten used to it. I tend to, in the hand, find the clip with my fingers and fire it out from there. It's something that with a Shiro you just do automatically and you probably don't even realize that you are doing. But it's something that is definitely necessary if you want to gain consistency with it, for sure. Now, on the other side of the knife here, we do have this beautiful spot for a pocket lanyard. Pocket lanyard, my God, what am I saying? A spot to tie in a lanyard. You know, I'm not a big lanyard guy, as you guys know, but, you know, if you want to do it that way, you certainly can. It's not a deal breaker. So do with that what you will. It is kind of hidden into the profile nicely, not to the same extent as, say, their custom divisions where they actually kind of really hide that hole. From the top you can see it, from the side it's like non-existent. But I digress. Certainly usable, and I think that's all they're really going for. Centering, I'm sure, without even looking at it, yeah, we're bang on. We do have the Bane mask, or the Hannibal Lecter mask here, pins, which for some reason they seem to have gone away with on the F95s. They just don't come with them anymore. So I don't know when that happened. I guess I should be holding it this way. But yeah, they've kind of stopped doing that. Let's do that. There we go. Sorry, doing two things at once. So not a big deal, but those pins are cool because they do provide a little bit of protection, but maybe if they bring the handle sides out a little bit, maybe they don't really need that. I also feel that this F95 is just insane value for what they're going for. Definitely check one of them out. What else can I talk about with this knife? So I talked about the flipper tab, talked about the lanyard hole, talked about the lack of a backspacer. The pocket clip milling is excellent. The Chromax blade is written on there, I should also say. And I've never had a problem with them writing it on there. I definitely like when it is out of the cutting path, but in this particular design, they've elected, and a lot of their low to mid-end production lines, they tend to write it on the blade, which is fine. And remember, when I talk low to mid-end Shirogorov, you're already starting at a point that is higher end than most others' high-end production lines. So, you know, if I said a low-end Ferrari, you'd be like, oh, it's a Ferrari though. Like, it's already unbelievable. I'd say, yeah, well, that's kind of where these guys start, is at that kind of Ferrari level. Not an Accord. What else can I talk about? The fit and finish in the hand, or the fit feel in the hand, sorry, geez. You've got some jimping. I don't know if that jimping is standard on all of the ones. Yeah, so there's your other one. Same spot. And I think the Quantum Gen 2, I just want to take a quick peek at that one if it's the same. Or is it a little further up? Ah, I was right. So the jimping does change ever so slightly on the Gen 2, so they've added a little bit more to it, but there's also a bit of a peak to the blade. It climbs a little higher. So that's cool. Nice little detail. You know what? It's a 4-inch blade, and as I've always learned, that the better the fit of the knife in your hand, the less you need reliance on jimping. That's absolutely perfect for me. If you're going to use it, it's in the exact right spot. Not to mention the top of the blade. If you want to get up there and do some fine slicing, you certainly can. That's not going to limit you with any swedging. So it's very smooth all around. And as I've shown you earlier, there's still a substantial amount of handle sticking off my extra large hand. So lots of room. If you want to use this with gloves, you certainly can. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a work knife because it's a piece of art, but there are guys that they still use custom divisions, and other guys who use customs. So you can certainly use it if you want to, but me personally, I wouldn't be using this as a work knife. I'd be using it as more of a fine user, because it just looks real nice. I think they did a cool job on keeping that Shirogorov logo as well, kind of honeycombing around it. I don't know what they're calling this pattern. I assume they're going to do more with it. EK Hex, maybe there's something there. Hex, H-E-K, H-E-K-S, E-K-S. I'd probably do something with Hex, H-E-K-S. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass, and I'm sure the decision's already made by the time you look at this. That's probably what I'd call it. What else we got? The ergos of the flipper tab are just beautiful. You have a nice cutout here. It's all smoothed, beveled, so that when you do flip this guy, your finger just falls nicely onto that pre-cut area. It just looks so nice and smooth. Oh, the grind is flat, but it's angled nicely. They're not going to get anything if you had studs there. There's nothing in the way of the cutting path. What a stunner of a knife. I honestly think this might be one that I actually end up carrying, because it's just like, it's at a price point where it's up there. Don't get me wrong, it's up there, but it's got the features I like. It's plain tie, which is my favorite. I love plain Jane. The pattern's awesome. It's gonna hide stuff well. Multi-row bearings is just that nice, consistent action that you like. Quantum, I love the Quantum for size. It feels thin. If this had a backspacer on it for $50 more bucks, you'd be talking about a low-end Quantum Gen 2. Like, I don't know how. I don't know if there's ever going to be a market for something in between this and the high-end Gen 2, because that's $1,200 US, whereas this guy's $750. Yeah, maybe there's $1,000 price point midline, but then you go, why wouldn't you just buy the Gen 2 and get M390 and the higher-end machining? So, I don't know. This one might be one I end up carrying. Super cool knife. I just love all that milling. I love... one thing I didn't even mention. It's got a metal replaceable or removable lock bar insert. And I always like to say it's not necessarily just about the insert itself and its replaceability. It's also a lot about tuning the materials between titanium and Chromax or M390 or S90V or S110 or whatever. You don't want those two metals binding. You're going to get a long time out of this regardless of the material, but the fact that it is replaceable just gives you peace of mind and looks super, super cool. I've never actually taken that out, but I imagine you just unscrew this and it's probably recessed in, and Bob's your uncle. Good to go. The other thing I also want to comment here is, look at when I roll this knife, how much of a curve there is to that lock bar. Hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully the camera's focused, my god. When I turn this, just look how rounded off that is. How beautifully done that is. It's just so precise. It doesn't stick up. Okay. Now, if I was going to show you that with a standard Quantum Gen 2, I think this one sticks up a little bit. Maybe not. Oh no, just a bit. It sticks up just a bit. So they've kind of gone away with that. Same with the F95. I think it sticks up a heck of a lot more. So much so that you can actually see it in advance as I roll the knife. It's quite a bit more. So they've always gone into a nice bevel here, and with the EK, they've kind of carried that on a little. Remember, the Quantum's a little more delicate of the two. I find it's a little thinner, a little more, you know, the Persian slicer. It's lighter duty, lighter weight in my opinion, but they've kind of maintained that nice ergonomic to it. And I am curious, comparing that with the Frag, if they did the same thing, or if it's a little thicker. Let's take a look. I think it's the same. Yeah, same thing. But the camera just wants to focus on the back so hard, eh? So there you go. Same exact thing on this. That's a cool little detail. I love being able to compare some of these and see them side by side. It's just half the fun, and see why they make changes when they do. That's honestly one of my favorite things, is like they make a small adjustment and you're like, what are you guys doing that for? And then you carry one for a while and you go, oh, that's why. That makes a lot of sense to me. Super cool. Well, I think I'm at like 22 minutes right now, and my camera battery's flashing. So I think I'm going to end things there on the EK Quantum. Super cool, awesome value knife, available in 3 colors, bronze and a blue, and then this classic tie. This is my choice of the 3, but I'd definitely be a sucker for the other 2 if they fell in my lap. Loving this, man. They did a great job, and I'm calling this the Hex, H-E-K-S, because that just looks too hexy to me. So I don't know if that's taken. Alright guys, well, thanks for stopping by. Check out the website, bladezilla.ca, for more information on any of these knives you see here. I don't know if this one will end up on there or not, but you never know. I could probably end up carrying it. Also, leave a comment. It helps the channel. Throw a like on the video. And if you have any questions, leave them below. I will answer every single one, as I always do. Okay guys, thanks for stopping by. Have yourselves a great week, and or what's left of it. And we'll talk soon. Okay? Cheers guys. Peace.